Hi everybody, IntuitiveEdge here. Welcome back. So I want to expound a little bit about noticing. If you haven't seen my last video, you may want to stop this video and go watch that one just to kind of catch you up on this thing that I'm doing with noticing. It'll help it make a little more sense. So anyway, welcome back everyone. Thanks for being here. So, what is noticing? What do I mean by noticing? What is this that I'm talking about? What I've been encountering with this practice, first, it might be helpful to understand how our brains actually work. Our brains are excellent filters, as you all know, and our brains are constantly surveilling our surroundings, looking for patterns, looking to keep us safe. Our brains are great at that. And our brains are constantly trying to make sense of the world around us. And when something doesn't make sense, usually the brain either just decides to move on or gets confused. Sometimes the person, when they're faced with something that doesn't make sense, they tend to dismiss it or walk away or feel like it's none of their business, or there's some sort of rational process going on with the brain when something doesn't make sense. And oftentimes, in looking for patterns, we often try to see things through the lens of what we already understand. And it's very easy for us to make our minds up about something and then have a hard time assimilating new information that might contradict what we already think we know. So what happens when the mind is already made up? Well, it stifles creativity and curiosity. It shuts down wonder. And in order to create, we have to have an open mind. We have to see things from a different perspective or be willing to have our beliefs or our thoughts changed on a matter. That is how we come into ourselves as creative beings, is when we can hold space for something new to be ushered in. And sometimes it means holding two worlds at the same time, what we are creating and what is. You know, people often say there's a war on for your mind, or the mind is the battleground. And I have to agree, because the mind and where our attention is focused can drive literally where we are heading in life. And it's very important, they say, to keep an open mind. That's not just a nice saying. It literally is the engine that can put us on a good path or a dark path. And it's up to us to be open enough to allow new information to maybe challenge the narrative. So just know that the brain is always looking to find patterns, to find meaning, to make things make sense, and is looking for safety. It is looking to keep us safe from harm. But sometimes when our brain is working on autopilot and 90% maybe of life, we're just kind of going on autopilot and we don't really engage with the world around us in a meaningful way, a lot of those decisions are just left to our brain's autopilot device. And so there's a lot of practices, mindfulness and others, that try to help people come to a place where they are back in the driver's seat and not just on autopilot with the brain, just making decisions based on patterns that it's recognized previously. Now, that does serve a purpose, but at the same time, what I've been discovering is there's a level of creation that requires, or seems to require, allowing more space for interpretation than maybe what the brain is understanding. So this is causing, I think, people to stretch a little bit, to stretch what they think is possible. And we've heard that people can accomplish great feats that aren't humanly possible by taking a moment to check in with themselves and to expand what they believe is possible. And somehow that opens a door for miracles to come in. Now, some say miracles are simply feats that we don't normally utilize, that we don't understand. And humans have a way of tapping into their superpower and being superpower beings by limiting just being on autopilot and connecting with the deeper part of themselves and the deeper source. And they do this by noticing, you could take anything, take a moment and look at anything that's in the room where you're sitting. Maybe you're outside, maybe you're indoors, but just take a moment and just for maybe 60 seconds, just look at something, whatever it is. Doesn't have to be anything important, just something very ordinary. And practice looking at it and noticing. What do you notice? Now, for a lot of people, this is like your mind just wants to rush off and do something else. Bring it back and just look at that thing and notice it. Notice how the light reflects. Notice what color it is. If the color blends or is a harmonious color with the room, or if it's a challenging color, or whatever you notice about it. There's no right or wrong to noticing. But when you can sit with something and just notice and forget that it's a teacup or a picture on a wall for a moment, it's an expression. Our brain might say, this is what this is. You're looking at a pen. You're looking at wall art. But this is where we can help our brains to kind of shut that off a little bit and allow for some space for creative wonder, because maybe there is something deeper, meaningful in the ordinary. This is where we can retrain our brains from just being on this autopilot to actually partnering with us in a deeper connection with life itself. Another thing with this practice of noticing is that of leaving preconceived ideas and notions of what my brain tells me something is and tells me what meaning that I'm supposed to give a thing, and to just allow those preconceived ideas to just kind of sit aside for a moment. Even if my brain says this is a horse or this is a cat, let that be. Because that is the automatic brain noticing patterns and telling you what to think. But there is something deeper going on in all of, I think, our earthly experience that calls us to look beyond the simple, look deeper than just the surface. That meaning of life actually can be profound in the ordinary things that we overlook every day because we don't think it's important, or we already know what that is. There's no sense in looking that way. We have all kinds of excuses that move us through life. Boom, boom, boom. We're going here, we're going there. And there are profound things that are waiting to be explored that could give your life and my life deeper meaning if we would only notice. So this is not like, here's a 1, 2, 3 how-to. It's a learned practice. It's saying, okay, I'm looking at this tree and my brain says the leaves are green. This is a tree. But I wonder if there's something else that I can notice. And so what I've been doing is I sit and I just kind of I allow myself to just be looking at a tree, for instance. And what I've been finding that has surprised me is the messages that come through. Now, we all know, at least most of us understand, that trees are a living being. They're not inanimate objects. They have life to them. And there are some that communicate with trees or animals, more of the intuitive side. But this is like not on that level, but it's in that space of allowing for more wonder, more curiosity, and messages. Doesn't mean that the tree is talking to you, but as you notice something in front of you and allow yourself to kind of set aside your preconceived ideas and just be with something, there are profound things that can come up. You may notice something you hadn't noticed before, and suddenly you're tying something else together that is a really profound life lesson. These are the moments that I think are so easy for us to miss because our brains are running the show and they're already telling us, you don't need to know that, this is a waste of time, this is dumb, whatever, or I already know everything. That's the biggest trap. There is a bit of humility in saying, you know what, I'm going to sit with this as though I know nothing and see what insights might pop up for me. This practice that I've been doing is reshaping my life in a profound way. It's actually deepening my insight, my awareness. And I do think when you give yourself permission, more things will fill that space. As you open space, more awareness, more insight, and more unique, I don't even know the word for it, unique opportunities arise. So there's so much more I could say about this. I think I'll leave that here for now. This has been a process, but I've done quite a bit of noticing with, for instance, trees. And I'm actually going to be writing some of my thoughts on it, perhaps creating a journaling notebook for people to be able to have the space and the permission to give themselves permission to notice messages coming through that maybe they hadn't seen, connections and dots that they hadn't connected before. And this, I believe, will deepen the human experience for people to come to this level of understanding where we can let go of the monkey brain that thinks it knows everything and expand our awareness to be able to hold space for wonder, curiosity, the breadth of a deeper, harmonious experience of life. I hope you've gotten something out of this video. If you want me to talk more about this or explain things a little more, let me know. I'd be happy to expound on this. But try some noticing for yourself, and you might just be surprised at what connects for you and what awareness comes in for you that maybe you'd never thought of, maybe never seen before. And if you do use any of these methods that I've talked about, and if you have any interesting experiences with it, I would love to hear in the comments. Feel free to share. This is powerful stuff. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.